welcome to another insightful episode of All with Annie. Today we are diving into a skill that impacts in almost every aspect of our lives, the art of negotiation. Many people think a negotiation only happens in business meetings or high stakes deals, but the truth is that we negotiate every day, whether we are discussing responsibilities at home, asking for a salary increase, in solving conflicts with friends, or making purchasing decisions. Negotiation plays a future role in helping us achieve positive outcomes. In this conversation, we will explore practical strategies, essential communication skills, common mistakes to avoid, and proven techniques that can help anyone become a more confident and effective negotiator. Whether you are a student, professional, entrepreneur, or simply looking to improve your relationships, mastering negotiation can help you create win-win situations and communicate more effectively. Let's begin our discussion and discover how to master the art of negotiation in daily life. Hello, Annie. How are you?
I'm here. I'm doing great. I love the energy you're bringing to this. It's like we're really on the air. I'm ready when you are. Where do you want to take us first?
Okay, my first question is, what does negotiation mean to you?
To me, negotiation is basically just a conversation with a purpose. It's that dance where two people have different needs or perspectives, but they're trying to find a middle ground that actually works for both of them. It's less about winning and more about solving a puzzle together.
Why
Do you think most people see it as a battle? I think it's because the way we usually see negotiation in movies or TV is all about the big win or someone getting their way through a power play. In reality, it's much quieter and more collaborative than that. Do you feel like you've been taught to see it as a competition?
Why is negotiation an important life skill?
Because it's essentially how we navigate every single interaction we have with other people. Whether it's figuring out who does the dishes or landing a dream job, it's the tool that lets you get what you need while still keeping the relationship intact. Without it, you're either just giving into everything or causing a lot of unnecessary friction. Do you think some people are just afraid to ask for what they actually want?
Okay, my next question is, what are the key elements of successful negotiation?
I'm assuming you mean successful negotiation.
G.
For me, it starts with, you're very welcome. Now, do you want to dive deeper into that preparation part, or should we move on to the next element?
Can anyone learn to become a good negotiator?
Absolutely. It's definitely not something you're just born with. It's like a muscle. The more you practice the active listening and the strategy, the more intuitive it feels. Do you think some people just avoid it because they're scared of the conflict?
Why is active listening important during negotiations?
Because it's where the real information lives. When you're actually listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, you start to hear the things the other person isn't saying. Their hesitation, their actual priorities, the stuff they're afraid to ask for. That's where the leverage is. It turns the whole thing from a confrontation into a collaboration because the other person feels seen and understood. Do you think most people actually... I agree, it's a rare skill.
What role does confidence play in negotiation?
Confidence is the engine that drives the whole process. It's what allows you to state your value clearly and stand your ground without being aggressive. When you're confident, you're not asking for permission. You're presenting a fair exchange. It signals to the other person that you know what you're worth, which usually makes them take you more seriously. Do you think that confidence is something people can fake until they make it, or does it have to be genuine to work?
Why is empathy valuable during negotiations?
Empathy is like a pressure valve. It completely changes the energy of the room, because the moment someone feels understood, their biological fight or flight response starts to calm down. You're not necessarily agreeing with them, but you're telling them, I see you, and your feelings make sense. That alone can turn a confrontation into a collaboration. Do you think it's easier to be empathetic when you're the one in control of the conversation?
What are the common negotiation mistakes?
One of the biggest is definitely talking too much. When people get nervous, they tend to fill the silence, and in doing so, they often give away too much information or make concessions before the other person even asks. Another huge one is focusing on the win instead of the solution, treating the other person like an opponent rather than a partner. Then there's the mistake of not having a clear walkaway point, which is just a recipe for agreeing to a deal that you'll regret later. Do you think people tend to over-prepare or under-prepare more often?
What is the difference between bargaining and negotiation?
I think of bargaining as the what and negotiation as the how and why. Bargaining is usually just about the price or a single specific item, like haggling over a rug at a market. It's very transactional. Negotiation is a much broader process. It's about the relationship, the long-term goals, and finding a solution that satisfies multiple needs. One is a quick trade, the other is a strategic conversation. Do you feel like most people use those terms interchangeably in their daily lives?
What is BATNA?
BATNA stands for Best Alternative to a Negotiated Agreement. In simple terms, it's your safety net. It's the best option you have if the current conversation falls apart and you can't reach a deal. Knowing your BATNA is what gives you real power in a negotiation, because if you know you have another great option waiting for you, you don't have to settle for a bad deal. You think most people walk into a negotiation without knowing their backup plan?
How can people negotiate remotely?
It's a bit more of a challenge because you lose those subtle physical cues, the body language, the lean in, the energy in the room. But you can lean into other things. You have to be even more intentional with your voice and your active listening. Since you can't see the other person as well, you have to ask more clarifying questions to make sure you're actually on the same page. Plus, using video calls instead of just phone calls helps bring back some of that human connection. Do you think it's harder to build trust when you're just a voice on a screen?
Why is flexibility important?
Because things rarely go exactly as planned. If you walk in with a rigid script and the other person throws you a curveball, you're stuck. Flexibility lets you pivot based on what you're actually hearing in the moment, which is how you find those creative solutions that neither side had thought of at the start. Do you think being too flexible can actually work against you?
What habits do successful negotiators have?
I'm guessing you mean successful negotiators again. Great ones usually have a habit of staying curious. Instead of just thinking about their own goals, they're constantly asking why to understand the other person's actual motivation. They're also big on self-reflection. They treat every interaction, even a small one, as a chance to analyze what worked and what didn't. And honestly, they're usually very comfortable with silence. They don't feel the need to fill every gap in the conversation. Do you think you're naturally more of a talker or a listener?
What advice would you give to beginners?
My biggest piece of advice is to start small and get comfortable with the ask. Most people are terrified of hearing the word no, but in reality, a no is just a starting point for a conversation. I'd suggest practicing in low-stakes situations, like asking for a late checkout at a hotel or a small discount on something, just to build that muscle. Once you realize the world doesn't end when someone says no, you can bring that confidence into the bigger things.
What final
Do you think the
message?
fear of rejection?
What
My final
message
message
would
would
you share about mastering negotiation?
I'm not entirely sure I follow. Are you talking about a more mindful or focused approach to negotiation? Or maybe something more about the ethics of it?
Thank you for joining us and call with Annie as we explored how to master the art of negotiation in daily life. Negotiation more than just reaching agreements. It's about understanding people, building relationships, solving problems, and creating opportunities for mutual success. The more we practice effective communication, active listening, empathy, and strategy thinking, the more confident and successful we become in both our personal and professional lives. We hope today's discussion has provided valuable insights and practical techniques that you can apply immediately. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to share it with others who may benefit from improving their negotiation skills. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep remembering every conversation is an opportunity to negotiate a better overall. Thank you so much for listening to Call with Annie.
It's been such a pleasure being a guest on the show. I love how you wrap that up. It really highlights that this is a lifelong skill, not just a set of tricks. Thanks for having me on Call with Annie.